Welcome to Healing Blindness Apologetics Podcast. I'm Jeff Heck. Today we're going to watch a video with God Logic, otherwise known as Avery, where he's in a discussion with a Muslim. He wants to know basically how a Muslim knows which literature to rely on as scripture. So we'll take a look at where Avery finds some problems. Up to this point in time, there's been a back and forth about what the definition of the Injil is, or the gospel, and how do we know what the contents of the Qur'an are. And they end up at this point of loggerheads, of disagreement. And we'll see how Avery works through trying to resolve this.
What's the difference?
The New Testament supposedly was written by people who heard from Isa.
Same with the Angel, right? So what's the difference?
It was revealed to Isa. It was words from an angel.
An angel?
Revelation.
Where does your Quran say an angel revealed the Angel to Jesus?
We know Angel Gabriel revealed all the revelations to all prophets.
Show me where it says the Angel Gabriel revealed the Angel to Jesus.
Well, the Quran doesn't clearly say that, but that's a deduction of the scholars.
So where are you getting it from?
Deduction of the scholars.
Who? Yeah.
I mean, that's what I read.
Now notice what's going on here a little bit. Avery's at a point in time where he's trying to figure out how this Muslim knows what he knows. And what's he say? He says, I'm relying on scholars. Does he know what the scholars actually say? Well, I read it somewhere. He's attributing to scholars what he cannot articulate as being precisely from a scholar. So is he confident that he knows this of his own knowledge? Or does he know it because this is what he has been taught and it's just almost coming out of his pores? It's not really coming out of his mind and thought process. It's the only habit of thought that he has. Is this really what we want to demonstrate as knowledge in these kind of situations? So let's continue.
I don't remember who exactly.
You can't. The amount of bid'ah that you have done in this conversation is astounding. Just make it stop. How? You're saying things that your Quran doesn't say. You're saying things that's nowhere in your Quran. Not even verbatim, not hinted at, not alluded to. None of this is in your Quran that the Angel Gabriel revealed the Injil to Jesus. That's crazy.
I know that it doesn't.
And that's the nature of the problem we always have when we're working off of what we think is knowledge. Do we actually know it? Or are we just repeating what's in the culture, what's in the essence of about where we're at? And it's really interesting how Avery presses this point. This guy is not using the literature. He's using whatever is convenient to making his argument. Should we allow this kind of creativity in argumentation? The key is, if we're going to press people on it, how do we do it? Do we do it with kindness, or do we do it with some type of anger and frustration? Just being nice about it is theoretically an option, but is it a wise option? But showing frustration, you invite the person in to try and help you resolve your frustration, but not getting angry at him and moving it into a personal attack. And this is where Avery is so good. He shows his frustration, but he doesn't make it personal.
Oh, as I have written before. My bad.
So let's go over this again. Jesus was not walking around with the New Testament in his hands. He also wasn't walking around with an Injil in his hands.
Yeah.
The Gospel and the Injil were written by his disciples. You said that the Gospel writers are anonymous. So are the writers of the Injil. They're anonymous. And we'll go with your view. We're in the same boat. What is the difference between the Injil and the Gospel that I have?
Now notice what he's done. He's gone through and articulated the evidence that they're discussing back and forth. Now he doesn't go into as much detail about that, partially because the person he's talking to probably doesn't have enough ability to recall specific information to be able to have a valid debate on this. But the summary evidence that he's going through is excellent. Now, were he to go through and essentially say, okay, here's the Injil, we have copies of it or pieces of it that go back to the 2nd, 3rd, 4th century, that's an option. But this guy's just going to deny it. So now you're stuck going to something like Dan Wallace's website at I believe the name of it, Center for the Study of New Testament Manuscripts, I think is the name of it, and showing the actual evidence that exists. But he's focusing more on the philosophy and conclusions.
The difference? Well, I cannot clearly tell you, but it definitely has a different message.
All right. So I mean, you kind of got there, but then you got to the finish line closely, but then you went back right in front of the finish line. Because when you say that you can't clearly tell me the difference, means that you can't tell me that what I have is not the Injil. Because it sounds like what we have, we believe in the same thing. That's what it sounds like to me. But when you say, oh, well, the message in the Injil is different than the message that's in the gospel. Show me that. Have you read the Injil?
The New Testament?
No, the Injil. Is the New Testament the Injil?
No, I'm just asking what you're referring to exactly.
I mean, let me know. I mean, if I say Injil, what is the New Testament Injil? I'll go with that. Is the New Testament?
No.
Okay.
So you're smart. You're smart.
I know, you feel me? Chef Logic, baby.
So
when you say, have you ever read the Injil?
No.
Have you ever seen it?
Seen it? No.
Have you ever touched it?
No.
Have you ever?
Now notice what he's doing. He's taking a theoretical and turning it into a practical, a focused. He's looking at concrete things. Have you seen it, touched it, smelled it? All of a sudden, this whole thing about theories of what the gospel is or is not becomes very, very concrete. And the argument becomes more evident that it's just an abstraction.
Smelt it?
What are these questions? No.
Okay. So how do you know that the message of the Injil that you've never read, touched, smelt, tasted, been around, seen, is different than the message that I have in my gospel? How do you know?
Faith. What can I tell you here? It's faith. But we can also point some stuff, like the Injil not having person humanity.
Give me a second, bro. You answered that quickly. I didn't expect you to say.
Adhan, hear this.
So you have a blind faith. Oh, they're not. Just, go ahead and unmute when it's over. But guys, our friend is here. He has.
Now notice what he's just pointed out. A blind faith. This Muslim doesn't have an argument. He has a belief. He doesn't have facts. He has a blind faith. Now, this is often what Christians are accused of, but frankly, it doesn't really work out when you deal with somebody that actually knows what they're talking about, that's done the research and studied the matters. There's worlds of difference between the blind faith of a Muslim that depends on the outcome of the entire story being true to validate the entire argument. It's circular. I don't know that the Qur'an is true except that what it tells me. I believe what it tells me, so therefore it's true. That's not the way you make a sound argument. It's not based on evidence. This is the nature of true blind faith. Now, does that mean that every Muslim needs to have the full articulated knowledge of what the argument is? No. But they should know where to go for somebody that has that knowledge. Now, they're told it's the imams and the sheikhs. The fact of the matter is, this is the exact same argument the imams and the sheikhs make. They make the exact same circular argument because they have to. There's nothing supporting their argument if you look at it in terms of facts.
There's a blind faith in this imaginative Injil that he's never seen, never touched, never read, never tasted, never smelt, never been around, nothing. That this imaginary Injil, who looks like there's no clear difference between this Injil and my gospel, that it has a different message than what's in my gospel. Blind faith is the crux and the foundation of Islam. That's the point. The point is that my Muslim friends who I love and I care about, my Muslim guests who come up here and engage with me, have no basis or substance to what they say, and everything that they're saying is resting on blind faith. Well, how could you be comfortable with that? Exactly, walking in darkness. How could you be comfortable chilling in blind faith? How? I couldn't do it myself. I couldn't.
So we'll wrap up at this point because he's made the point just that we need to. This entire podcast is about examining the boundaries of understanding through seeing and failing to understand through blindness. Now, hopefully the blindness we're addressing is inadvertent. We don't realize what we don't know. Unfortunately, much of it turns out to be very deeply intentional. It's something we wish to be true. And if we wish it to be true, we refuse to look at anything that will address that. And in future episodes, we'll tear that apart a little bit more, so we'll know what the techniques of choosing blindness are and how to avoid it. For now, thanks for watching.